Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tosh Customs, and today we'll be taking a look at probably one of my most involved customs ever, which is this Jedi to Sith conversion. This is just a very, very insane figure to build, and took a lot of work, a lot of time, and I'm excited to get into it. So without further ado, this is my Old Republic style Jedi to Sith Mezco figure. So we will just take a look at the accessories first, and then I will talk about putting each individual outfit together. So we're going to pop the head off and dive right in. So I will also put the costume elements to the side as well for the time being. All right. So let's start with the Jedi head. This is a head that I bought off of eBay. It's 3D printed, and I bought it because, well, one, I don't think I can model this well, and I also didn't own a printer at the time. So I found it on eBay. I just looked up 1/12 or Black Series head sculpts, and I found this guy. He originally had sort of like a goatee beard, and the customer asked me to shave it all down. So it got sanded down and then resculpted, and you can't even tell that anything happened to it, which is great. So as you can see, paint, I think I'm getting better with face paint, honestly. I think I'm slowly improving. And one thing I was working on was getting those two tones in the eyes. So not only just putting black dots in the eyes just to, you know, show that there's pupils there, but actually having those irises around it. So as you can see, there's some light brown in those eyes with black pupils, and everything's been glossed over. And then coming to the hair, something I was trying to do as well is not as sharp of a hairline. You know, because of baby hairs and stuff, our hairlines are not these like really sharp angles. You know, obviously if you shave your head and you cut it a certain way, you can get really sharp lines. But natural hair doesn't grow in a way that it's super clean cut definition. And so because of that, I dry brushed a little bit of brown around the edges of the hair, especially up at the top. So it mimics that sort of smooth fade from skin to hair that you'd see, you know, with those little baby hairs kind of coming off the front and the sides. In terms of the hair paint, it is just a Angelus leather brown with then a matte Vallejo leather brown over that. And so you get that two-tone between that gloss and that flat brown in there. And so that just helps, you know, denote the highlights and lowlights of the head. Also got some really nice scarring all over the head, and that was just the way the sculpt came. He's a little bit battle torn, and so it's just a matter of getting some light pink in there to kind of help pick that out. And it's a little bit more noticeable than what's showing on camera, I think, but still looks great. So yeah, we have that head. Looking at it like in person, it doesn't look like Josh Brolin at all, just because of the proportions of the head, but in this lighting, it makes the eyebrows, you know, that sort of brow arch a lot deeper, and he gets kind of like a Josh Brolin look right about here. Am I crazy for that? You guys let me know, but I think it does, just a little. I kind of see that facial structure. But yeah, anyways, putting this head off to the side, let's take a look at the Sith head now. This head was also bought on eBay, but took a real crazy turn. So originally he's supposed to be bald, and the customer messaged me and was like, yo, I really want this sort of like loose, wavy black hair on him. And so he sent me some pictures from a Star Wars comic, and honestly, I don't know who the figure is, but yeah, wavy, long black hair. And so I was like, all right, dude. So I shaved down the back part of the head so that it would provide room for the sculpt, and then sculpted this whole head of hair here. And so this is all painted in black Angelus leather black paint. Wow, that I couldn't say that for some reason. I kept on wanting to say brown, but it's not. And then dry brushed with the black gray over that to get those highlights in there. So sculpted all that, and then for the head, he also wanted a Sith mask, because this is supposed to be within the New Republic era, and so sort of like a Sith knight. And so I had to figure out how to put a face mask on here too. And so one, I saw the battle damage around the eye, so, you know, obviously we made that eye dead. And also take a look at that other eye while we're here. You can see there's a little bit of yellow in there around the orange, so it's really three-tone. You have some orange, you have some yellow, and then you got the black pupil right there. But anyways, talking about the mask, I put painter's tape all over the head so that the sculpt wouldn't like really seal to the face, but it would be easy to ply off. And that's a technique I've used multiple times over and over. If you saw if you've seen some of my other reviews, I've done other tension masks that kind of operate the same way, and I've done it with armor as well. So then I sculpted this Sith mask right here. I based it off of just like different types of concept art, fan art, as well as some stuff that comes from the Old Republic game. Excuse me. Still have that dry cough. But I wanted to work with a little bit of a skull motif, and so, you know, kind of keeping it to almost that tribal look with a little bit of tech. And I was inspired by Kylo Ren's mask, where he has sort of that Japanese style fusing of, you know, broken metal. You know, in Japanese culture, I forget what the technical term is, but they usually put gold into the cracks of pottery in order to make beauty and make art out of something broken. And so you saw that inspiration come through in Kylo Ren's mask. And I figure if that technology's been around, you know, the Knights of Ren are supposed to be sort of like this older order. And so why couldn't it be in the Old Republic? And so fusing, you know, once again with that shiny red. And, you know, this side has a much deeper notch and sort of indent compared to this side. And as you can see, this side is actually painted over with gunmetal. And the reason why is this eye's dead. You know, so at some point he was fighting, you know, before maybe he was as old, and he took damage to the eye and he was blind. And so my envisioning of this character is that he was wearing this mask at the time. His mask got blown out, sort of dropped these shards into his eye, scarred him up, and killed his vision. And so when they put it together again, you know, the mask now kind of represents that. And so the cool thing is, you know, obviously it's tension, but to help secure that, this strand of hair on the side actually grips onto the side of the mask. And so as you can see, I'm going to slide the mask into the hair right there. And then you have the mask on the Sith guy, and it holds great. Ta-da! So yeah, so it looks super cool, and it'll look better once we have the Sith conversion done. So we're going to take that head, put it off to the sides. This figure is built on the Mezco Diabolic base. And so I do have a fisted hand and a open palm hand on the figure already. So here are the opposite versions, and nothing's been done to the hands. They're just straight black. I was thinking about sculpting armor on the hands, but what I realized is if I sculpt like Jedi clone armor, it's going to be white. And if I sculpt Sith armor, it's going to be, you know, something of like a gunmetal or a silver, or maybe even just all black plating. And so I said, you know, I'm going to avoid the conflict of interest and conflict of design there and just leave the hands just as black gloves, and those will do just fine. So putting those hands off to the side now. The last thing we have are these two lightsabers. Both of these hilts and blades are pulled from the Darth Revan figure, but I did do some custom painting on them. So as you can see, the gold on this lightsaber has been picked out more, and whereas the back part here was all silver before, we now have some nice pearlized gold. I believe the red blade is normally on this hilt, so I put the purple blade on it just so that it doesn't look like a direct pullover from Black Series, and likewise, the red blade is on this hilt. And I also pulled out some gold along these rings, and so before everything was just a flat sort of gunmetal painted plastic, so now we have that gold coming through. And then along the spikes right here, there is some chrome silver and some chrome silver dry brushing along these edges just to bring out the light a little bit more on those hard I guess, yeah, just edges. I was trying to think of another word for edges, but there is none, just on the hard edges. So there we go, we have the red and purple sabers right there. So now let's talk about the figure. We'll put the Jedi head back on for this guy. Just pop that on right there. So this is my Old Republic style Jedi. I've done a few other Jedi, and one of them was also sort of within the Old Republic era. And so he is rocking some nice clone armor right here. The thigh pads, the chest plate, and the shoulder pads are from DTG Figures, a great customizer. A great guy, and I've done other business with him before, and so it's great to double back again. Oh, and also these arm plates are as well. So those are from DTG Figures. This belt right here is from a Star Wars Black Series TIE Fighter pilot, And I really like it because he's got these straps that come down the thighs. And so it's not just a belt, but adds a little bit more complexity and layer to have that extra strap right there. And the figure, like I said before, is a diabolic base. And then I do want to talk about the boots for a second, because if you guys are familiar with diabolic, it's just sort of this, not even pleather. I don't even know what to call it really. It's just a synthetic sort of rubberized fabric. And as you can see here, it's just a weird texture, honestly. You know, it works for diabolic, but for normal clothes, it just doesn't fly. So what I ended up doing was I took the pants from a Red Arrow figure and ended up putting them over the normal legs so that you have a different material on the legs. And then after that, I used some wrap and some pleather to create these sort of like faux Jedi boots. And so that helps really hide that weird kind of fabric that the diabolic body uses. And so that's how I transformed that. These thigh plates are glued on, but only to the top. And so they do have flex at the bottom right there. And the reason why I wanted flex was so that if I wanted to, I can kind of tuck these straps up under the armor right there. And the reason why I wanted to tuck it up under, and you know, it has an option. You can leave it hanging low, and I kind of like it hanging low, but if you want to tuck it up and make it a little bit nicer, you can do that as well. And the reason why I chose to do it this way is everything's on conversion, which means everything needs to be able to be taken off and put back on. So since we're here, we might as well talk about that. So the chest plate, as you saw earlier, is magnetic. I drilled 2 magnets and accidentally, you know, kind of ripped up the fabric there, but thankfully you'll never see it. But we have 2 magnets in the plate, so all you have to do is just slide that under the robe, and it just tabs in very nicely. These shoulder plates are connected and glued down to the robe, and it's nice because they will move with the robe as it comes out and stuff like that. And so the belt is on elastic here, as well as on elastic on the back. And so actually, let's take this guy apart. Let's remove everything. I'll show you how it's done. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to straighten out this robe right here. The robe is on a wire, and so you get some drama with the posing. So I'm just going to pop the arms up. And so with this belt, all you're going to do is work on sliding it down the legs. And I usually like to kind of tuck in the robe a little bit just so that the belt doesn't scrape up against the thigh pads. And it's just a simple kind of shimmy down. It takes a little bit of time, but it's all right. It's not too bad. And you just have to make sure that these leg elastics also get pushed down. Also, they have a tendency to snag along the boot, and so that's just sort of a note for the customer. You know, just make sure they don't snag, because then, yeah, you know, your conversion's going to get all bunched up. So just got to get these elastics over the boot edge like so, and we're going to do that for both sides. We're just going to pinch it and sort of bring it over the boot right there as we continue to slide this belt down. So there we go. The belt is slid all the way down. Get the loops off from around the feet, just like so. And now our belt is off the figure. Boom, belt off to the side. Now for the robe is simple. Well, we'll do the chest piece first. Magnets off. Boom, done. Robe now is simple. Just pull the arms back, and then just bring the robe over that armor piece. So it's just a matter of kind of stretching the robe over and then sliding it off. So there we go. Hold on, I shouldn't speak too soon. There we go. So now everything's off. So this is the base of the figure. There is some brown pleather that's from a Batman cape that's painted and wrapped around the body, and so that's how you get sort of like this loose shirt, and you get that undergarment. You know, instead of making a whole shirt, you know, and layering and sort of bunching up the articulation, I just made it here because all you're going to see is that chest plate and then the robe over it. So there you go. So this is what he looks like underneath. So now coming to the Sith conversion, the first thing we're going to want to do is, well, pop off the Jedi head and now put on this skirt piece. So you have this black skirt piece also from the Revan figure. And so all we have to do is just slide the feet in. It might be a little bit hard to do on camera, but I think I can get it. Slide the feet into the skirt like so. There we go. There we up. It's a little bit easier when I can hold it closer to my body. You know, use my chest as like a nice hard surface. But there we go. So slide the skirt up, and it just slides over all the armor as well as the skirt. or as well as that loose shirt underpiece. So bring all that up, and it'll sit around the hips nicely. And so there you go. We have the skirt on. So the next piece we need to do is his belt and front area. And this is also from the Revan figure, but it's been completely repainted. So now we have red around this loop. We have a black tattered, I guess, sort of loincloth. Nice bright pearlized gold on the belt loop, as well as little silver rings and some more silver detailing on the secondary belt area. And then this top piece of fabric is done in a black gray, and everything's on elastic on the back, because once again, everything needs to be interchangeable. So I bring the skirt in and kind of just bunch it up like so that the belt can loop over it. So then it's just a matter of sort of sliding this up and around the figure, and make sure you kind of have to pull the skirt from one end and pull it through the elastic so that the belt starts to slide up. This part can be a little tedious, but once you get everything kind of bunched down and through, it becomes a lot easier. You have to make sure that skirt goes through that second loop as well. And once again, it can be a little bit tedious, but if you want a Jedi to Sith conversion, unfortunately, that's just the way it's going to be. You just gotta do it. So here we go. Now everything's starting to come together. So we're going to just keep sliding this up, just kind of keep inching, warming it up, and then pulling the skirt down, warming it up, pulling the skirt down. So as you can see, we're almost done here. Finish sliding this belt all the way up, and now there we go. It's just crossed over the hips. Perfect. Here we go. So then pull that skirt down one last time. Make sure the edges are up. Make sure the belt is all up, and there we go. So now we have the belt and skirt on. Now the next step is our chest piece, which where did I put it? I'm lost. One sec. Sorry about that pause there. I just realized I left the chest plate in the garage the whole time while I was working. So here we go. Here we have the chest plate. This is from the G.I. Joe. Oh man, Major Blood. There we go. Major Blood figure. So it's been completely repainted. I painted it all in matte black, and then did some gunmetal and silver dry brushing over it, as well as some gold and red detailing. And so as you can see, we have some nice silver edge weathering all around there, as well as some gloss red and some nice bright gold. So I think it turned out really, really nice overall. So here we go. We have this, and so it's actually just on an elastic with a magnet on it. As you can see, just kind of clicks in and out. And so what we're going to do is we're going to push the left arm up, tilt the neck to the left as well, and then slide the arm through the hole and bring the chest around like so. So here we go. We have that. Click it in on the back, and now we have the chest plate on. Oh, make sure that skirt doesn't bunch up too much. And now the last bit is to actually, we don't even need to, oh yeah, we should push the arms back. Push the arms back, take the robe, and just push the hands or the arms through the robe holes. And now you have the Sith version completely costumed up, and I think that looks nuts. I will say the Sith is a little bit more unique and a little bit more in-depth with the design, because the Sith was the one I was planning on working on first. About halfway through the planning process, the customer asked to have a conversion, and so the Jedi is a little bit more simplified, but Jedis also aren't as flashy. The Sith get a lot more stylized in their looks, and so here we have the Sith Knight per se, and he's looking great. My phone is running out of memory, so I'm going to have to film the rest in a second. So I'm going to stop the video here, and I will sort of edit and cut around stuff and resume. But all right, guys, we are back. So yeah, a lot more detail than the Jedi normally get, and I think he just looks totally great. The gunmetal on the mask, the red in the cracks there, everything is just super, super intimidating, and so I really like him. I realized I didn't post the Jedi with the purple saber, but Hey, you guys will see it in the in the pictures, I suppose, on Instagram. By the way, if you haven't checked out my Instagram before or haven't seen it yet, if you're new here on YouTube, it is Tosh underscore customs. And I do have the link to my page in the about section of the channel. So go check that out. And like so, we're going to just peg that hand in there. And then instead of the fist, I'm going to give him an open palm hand so that he can be also using the force. So, boom, just like so. So as you can see, we now have the Sith version all kitted out, looking all mean and aggressive. I like that a lot. Yeah, so much range and diversity in the looks, and the goal was to really make sure that they didn't look like the same figure. But there are some common, oops, he's going to lose his balance there. But there are some common parts in this guy, and so it was a little bit challenging to figure out how I was going to overcome that. So in terms of common parts, for instance, we have this armor plating that I sculpted on the foot, as well as this plating on the forearm here. And so for both of those, I was sitting around going, you know, how in the world do I make this pass for both characters? Because they have such different color schemes. And so what I ended up going with was painting it matte black, dry brushing it black gray, and then doing weathering with silver along the edges, and then diluting white, and then doing just a little bit of white dry brushing in the middle. And so for a Sith, it looks largely black with silver weathering, as you can see there, but then the sort of white bits, the white bits in there that normally can't get seen get picked out a little bit more against the white armor. And so it just kind of helps it match, it just brings it a little bit closer. And so in that way, it's able to kind of work for both characters while not being necessarily tied to either one. And so, you know, some of the common parts in the figure were a little bit difficult to kind of work around, but I think it turned out all right. I think it looks pretty good. And so once again, talking about layers, you know, the conversion is so involved because I needed them to look totally different. So for one, you know, we have Jedi armor with sleeves, and, you know, this belt with the loops, and, you know, the loops help even add that depth, because if you just have a belt, you cut out the loops, right? You don't get this visual layer of having this strap go over the thigh plate and then this sort of come under the leg, you know, having this strap kind of loop around back under the leg. And so you add depth into the design there. You know, we have the brown undershirt we made, and so then you have this clone plate that sits over that, and then the robe that sits pardon, and then the robe that sits on top. So then visually you're getting 3 layers, you know, on that. And then if you incorporate the shoulder pads and stuff like that, you're getting 4 layers. On the legs, you're getting, you know, 2 layers. You're going to have your boots and your thigh pad up top with your pants underneath. So visually, you know, there's a lot stacked on top of each other that adds this complex nature to the character. Likewise with this guy, you have your skirt and then you have your loincloth, and then you have your belt. So visually, you're dealing with 3 layers here. You have 3 layers here. You know, the skirt piece comes up here, so you're not actually seeing the brown of the undershirt of the Jedi. And so then, you know, visually here, you have 2 layers between, you know, this armor plate and the, you know, that cloth skirt. But then when you come to the chest, you're also dealing with layers, you know, and that's why we paint it. We have the lower red, and then, you know, for this, we have red, and then we have silver in these vents. So there's black, there's silver, and then there's gunmetal over that. And so once again, you know, visually, that's how you create complexity. You know, the designs of every component don't necessarily need to be too involved per se, but you instead create a very, very dynamic character by, you know, mixing up your textures, you know, mixing up your details, and, you know, visually, you know, through paint or just through layering. You know, even this. This used to be plastic. I actually cut it off and replaced it with a fabric one so that it moves better, but I used the pleather instead of, you know, more of like a normal fabric, so that visually you're getting more of this, you know, this leathery, glossy, shiny tone up against this very dark matte. And then, even this has a slightly different tone and texture from the skirt. And so visually, even though you have a ton of black fabric parts, none of them are melding together. Even your sleeves have more of that, like I said, that rubbery, that rubberized fabric look from Diabolic. So you're getting, not, 3-4 layers on the armor, another 3-4 layers in terms of the fabric designs. And so that's how you stack and create a complex, well-developed design, and overall it's relatively simple still, if you really wanted to cut it down to what it is, Batman cape, kit bash, found it on eBay. And so it really comes down to how you, as an artist are making these design decisions, and that's really the key to doing this, because, obviously things are set off by the sculpt, and, there's a lot of interchangeable things going on. Had to make this loincloth piece myself, obviously sculpted the head. But, if you're looking at just raw materials, because I know a lot of people like to measure price by raw materials, but I always argue that you're paying for the artist's skill here. And, you always are. So one, I know there's some toxic people online, and I saw Flashpoint Customs sort of talking about that in the community a bit today. And, you're really paying for an artist's eye and an artist's skill, because if you just count raw materials are never much, but it's the hands and the eyes that put it together that are so important. And, in this case, really, really understand the textures and materials you're working with in order to create something that has a lot more visual depth, even though maybe, and in some ways looks more expensive. Having really sharp, clean metallic paints makes this guy feel very, very premium. And I would argue that a lot of these parts aren't even recognizable to their original characters because, visually they've been so transformed and they look so different. I should also take this Sith mask off so we can appreciate his nice face paint as well. You get a really, really dastardly, sinister looking guy over here. Sinister Sith. So check that out. But yeah. So those were just some things that I learned as designing this guy. I've never done a real crazy conversion like this before. I think the closest I've ever done is the Cyberpunk guy that I did about 2 years ago now. And he had alternate heads. He had some armor. Oops, camera shake, sorry. I pulled my headphones. He had some armor that got switched in and out as well. But, nothing quite as involved as this guy is. So this was a great learning experience for me as an artist because, in planning both outfits, I was asking myself, how does everything connect on? For instance, if I was only doing the Jedi or only doing the Sith, a lot of these pieces would be more permanently attached. For instance, like the chest plate, I would have probably added straps around it so that you would get some extra details in there. The extra details of the straps and how everything connects to the body. But instead, I'm looking at it, I'm going, okay, I know that I want this to be switched out. So instead, I'm going to opt for magnets instead of elastic. And then instead of adding straps and adding extra details to it, I know that I have my Jedi robe. And so that just sort of covers up the sides. And so those details, even though they should belong there, they're not going to be as necessary. And so it makes the conversion simpler to install magnets instead. And likewise for this, I was going, how in the world do I get my straps and get that layering without hindering some of the articulation and movement? And so that's why instead of, normally gluing these straps down, I instead did the elastic on them, because otherwise I would have probably glued these right to the thigh plates or on the sides of the thigh plates so that they would be permanently attached and they move the same way. But by having the elastic, it allows it to all be taken apart and taken off. Same thing for the Sith. I had to install the magnet on the side of the armor, the belt and everything. The belt has to be on elastic, and then the skirt, I did some trimming and cutting to the top of the skirt so that it was easier to slide it on and off. I made some adjustments, so it's not just the Revan figure, but the Revan figure has an incredibly small waist, so I actually had to alter the skirt a little bit so that it would slide up easily. And so, a lot of pre-planning on this guy. A very involved thought process and just project in general, but I'm so happy the way it turned out. Once again, like I said, the goal was to make it unrecognizable. I didn't want you to be able to go, oh, I can see the Jedi in this Sith character. They have to look completely different, have totally different vibes tonally. You know, the head sculpts, you know, even just speak leagues of difference in terms of the expression, in terms of the look. And so likewise, I needed the costumes to reflect that as well. And I'm super happy about how it all turned out. I think they both look great, and the Sith robe is also on a wire. So like how I talked about getting drama in the Jedi robe and stuff before, you can also get some drama in this Sith robe as well. You know, if you want to bend it around and get some wind blowing through it and stuff like that. So I love doing these Old Republic style customs. There's honestly just an infinite amount of artistic freedom you can get with these guys, because it's just do whatever you want. You know, there's a Sith who existed somewhere in the galaxy who looked like this, or wielded a saber like this, or had a scar like this. And so I love the flexibility and artistic freedom, because, you know, at that point in the Star Wars lore, there's, you know, the possibilities are endless. So I really enjoyed designing and making this guy. It took a super long time, but I finally got it, and I'm really, really happy with how it all turned out. One detail I just remembered that I didn't talk about before was the robe here. It was a lighter brown before, and so I painted it black and then sprayed, airbrushed black and brown onto it, and then also took a sponge and did some of this mud detailing. And so as you can see, you have a lighter brown along the trim of the robe. So that's just another detail. I didn't want to gloss over it and miss that. So yeah. Once again, I'm just very proud of this guy. I'm very happy that he's done. I'm very happy with how he turned out. The project was very intimidating, honestly. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and this review. I hope you learned something. And if you just liked what you saw, or want to see something new, have critiques or have comments, anything, just drop it down below. I love to hear your guys' thoughts, and I love interacting with you guys. And yeah, go crazy. Once again, my Instagram is Tosh_customs, and the link is in the about section of my channel. So please check out my Instagram, because I'm a lot more active there, and you're going to be seeing a lot of the work in progress and the step-by-step process that I'm taking through making these figures. And yeah, you'll also see when I post new figures, when I open up commissions, and you know, you get to see some more posed shots. So instead of this guy standing here for the last like 2 or 4 minutes, you'll see him all posed up and looking as cool as he possibly can. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all, and I will catch you next time. Take care.